The Gardener of Lost Things, Chapter 1. The Algorithm of Loss. The silence in Liam Thorne's penthouse was a physical presence, a vacuum so profound it seemed to swallow sound itself. It was broken only by the soft, rhythmic clicking of a keyboard and the distant, muted hum of San Francisco far below. Liam, at 38, was the architect of his own universe. His company, Ether, wasn't just a tech giant. It was the ghost in the global machine, its algorithms curating everything from news feeds to financial forecasts. He dealt in patterns, in probabilities, in the clean binary logic of ones and zeros. Human emotion was an inefficient, messy variable, a bug to be patched. Tonight, a bug had surfaced. On his desk, a single tangible object disrupted the digital perfection, a small, faded, and clumsily stitched felt bird, a robin with one black bead eye missing. It had arrived in a plain manila envelope, no return address, postmarked from a small town in Maine he hadn't thought of in 20 years. It was a relic from a life he had meticulously erased, a life before Silicon Valley, before billions, before he became Liam Thorne. It was from his sister, Clara. The bird was a message, their private childhood language. A robin meant, "I need you, come home." A cold knot tightened in his stomach. Home. Willow Creek, Maine, a place of salt-scrubbed air, dense pine forests, and memories he kept locked in a vault labeled weakness. His father's quiet disappointment, his mother's early death, the suffocating smallness of it all. He had fled the day after high school graduation, severing ties with the surgical precision he now applied to underperforming subsidiaries. Clara had tried to bridge the gap for years, but he had built walls too high, too thick. He picked up the felt bird. Its crude stitching was an affront to the sleek carbon fiber and glass of his world. It represented everything he had transcended: sentiment, need, vulnerability. His executive assistant, an impeccably efficient woman named Anya, materialized in the doorway. "Sir, the car is ready for the Synapse launch. The press is already assembled." Liam didn't look up. "Cancel it." Anya's perfect composure flickered. "Sir, the keynote, it's in an hour. The markets, reschedule it. Something has come up," he said, his voice flat, final. He closed his hand around the felt bird, its lumpy form a stark contrast to the smooth lines of his phone. "Book the jet. We're going to Maine." Chapter 2. The Keeper of Broken Pieces. In Willow Creek, the world moved at the speed of the tide. For Maeve, the town's junk lady, it moved at the speed of a rusty shopping cart. At 67, her life was a map of wrinkles and kindness. She lived in a small, cluttered cottage on the outskirts of town, a place that was less a home and more a sanctuary for lost things. She mended what others threw away, chipped plates with gold lacquer, radios that only picked up static, chairs with wobbly legs. Her philosophy was simple: nothing and no one was beyond repair. Her daily pilgrimage took her along the town's streets and the winding coastal road, her cart, her constant companion. She knew the schedules of the garbage trucks better than the mayor knew his own name. It was on this route, near the overlook, where tourists stopped to photograph the craggy coastline, that she found it. A slim, black leather folio, expensive and foreign against the rough asphalt. It was wedged against the curb, slightly damp from the morning mist. She picked it up, her gnarled fingers tracing the fine grain. Inside, there were no family photographs, no sentimental notes. Instead, it was a temple to cold, hard utility. A driver's license for a Liam Thorne, a single black credit card with no numbers, and a small, strange-looking metal device she guessed was some kind of computer drive. Tucked into a hidden compartment was a single worn black-and-white photograph of a young woman with a gentle smile. Maeve recognized her instantly. It was Sarah Thorne, Liam's mother, who had passed away when he was just a boy. Maeve sighed. She remembered Liam Thorne, the brilliant, angry boy who'd left town and never looked back, who'd become a ghost story they told about the kid who made it big and forgot where he came from. This folio, with its cold contents and that one aching photograph of his mother, told a more complicated story. She could have taken it to the sheriff. But she knew with the deep, unshakable intuition that guided her hands when she glued a broken vase that this required a more personal touch. This wasn't just lost property. It was a lost piece of a soul. She placed the folio carefully in her cart, atop a pile of mismatched books, and continued her rounds. She would find a way to return it. Chapter 3. The Ghost in the Machine. Willow Creek received Liam Thorne like a body receives a virus. His arrival was a shock to the system. The sleek black town car looked like a spacecraft that had landed on a dirt road. He stood on the porch of his childhood home, a place now occupied by Clara, feeling like a stranger in a museum of his own past. Clara, her face etched with a weariness that had nothing to do with age, opened the door. The reunion was stiff, laden with 2 decades of unspoken words. Their father, she explained, was in the late stages of Alzheimer's. He was being moved to a specialized facility, and the house, burdened with mortgages taken out to pay for his care, was facing foreclosure. The felt bird had been a final desperate act. "He asks for you," Clara said, her voice quiet. "Most days he doesn't know me, but he asks for you. He says he has to give you something." Liam felt a pang of something sharp and unwelcome. Guilt, perhaps, or grief. He pushed it down. This was a problem to be solved, not a wound to be felt. "Give me the financials. I'll clear the debts. I'll pay for the best care facility in the world." "It's not about the money, Liam," Clara's voice broke. "He's your father. He's here now, and he's fading. He needs to see you." It was then, as he reached for his phone to have Anya wire the funds, that he discovered the folio was missing. Panic, cold and absolute, seized him. It wasn't the credit cards or the drive. Those were encrypted, replaceable. It was the photograph, the only picture of his mother he had left, the one he carried as a silent, secret talisman. Its loss felt like a second death. His world of remote wipes and satellite tracking was useless here. He called Anya, his voice tight. "The folio is gone. It must have fallen out near the house. I need you to lock everything down and get me a new suite of identification expedited." But as he ended the call, he felt a profound helplessness. The most powerful man in the room, perhaps on the planet, was powerless to find a small black object in a town that time forgot. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Intersection. Frustration led Liam to the town's only diner, a place called the Salty Gull. He needed coffee and a weak Wi-Fi signal. He sat in a vinyl booth, his presence causing a ripple of whispers. He was an alien here, his tailored suit a costume in a play where everyone else wore flannel and denim. He was reviewing the grim foreclosure documents on his tablet when an old woman with a shopping cart full of junk paused by his table. She had a face like a weathered apple and eyes that held a disconcerting depth. "You're Sarah's boy," she stated, her voice a soft rasp. "Liam." He looked up, annoyed. "Yes, you look like her, around the eyes." She smiled and it transformed her face. "You've lost something." It wasn't a question. Liam's guard went up. "What makes you say that?" "People who haven't lost things don't have that particular storm in their gaze," she said gently. She reached into her cart and produced his black folio. "I found it this morning on the coastal road. I was on my way to find you." A wave of sheer, unadulterated relief washed over him. He took it, his hands almost trembling. He opened it immediately, his eyes going straight to the hidden compartment. The photograph of his mother smiled up at him. It was safe. "Thank you," he said, the words feeling inadequate. He reached for his wallet, pulling out a thick stack of $100 bills. "Please," A reward for your honesty." Maeve looked at the money, then back at his face, her smile fading into a look of gentle reproach. "I don't want your money, Liam Thorne. I wanted to return what was yours. It's the right thing to do." She turned to leave, but Liam, struck by her refusal, stood up. "Wait, please." The word felt foreign on his tongue. "At least let me buy you a cup of coffee." Maeve studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, but I'll buy my own." Over coffee, Liam learned her name was Maeve. He learned she was the town's self-appointed restorer. He expected her to ask him for something, a donation for the town, a job for a relative, something. But she didn't. She asked him about his mother. She told him a story about Sarah Thorne leaving a basket of fresh-baked bread on her porch when she was sick, a kindness Maeve had never forgotten. "You have her hands," Maeve said, pointing to his long, slender fingers. "She had a gift for making things grow. You have a gift for making all this." She gestured vaguely at his tablet, his phone, the invisible digital empire they represented. Liam was silent. He had reduced his mother to a single photograph, a data point in his history. This woman spoke of her as a living, breathing person, a thread in the fabric of this town that he had torn himself from. "My father is sick," he found himself saying, surprising himself with the confession. "He doesn't remember me." Maeve nodded, her eyes full of a wisdom that felt ancient. "The mind forgets, but the heart keeps a different ledger. Perhaps he doesn't remember your face, but he may remember the feeling of you, the sound of your laugh as a boy. You should talk to him. You might be surprised at what's still there beneath the ruins." She finished her coffee and stood. "Thank you for the company, Liam, and welcome home." She left him then, pushing her cart of broken things out into the soft Maine light, leaving Liam with his expensive technology, his global influence, and a profound sense that he was the one who was truly lost. Chapter 5. The Language of the Heart. Driven by a compulsion he didn't understand, Liam went straight to the small, sun-filled room where his father, Robert, sat by the window, a blanket over his knees. The man who had once been a formidable, quiet force was now frail and distant, his gaze fixed on some inner horizon. "Dad?" Liam said, his voice hesitant. Robert Thorne turned slowly. His eyes, the same cool grey as Liam's, were cloudy, vacant. "Do I know you, son?" The words were a physical blow. "It's Liam, your son." Robert blinked, then looked out the window. "I have a son. He's away, building castles in the sky." He fumbled with the blanket. "I have to give him something for when he comes home." Liam's breath caught. He knelt beside the chair, the way he had as a child. "What is it, Dad? What do you have to give him?" Robert's hand trembled as he pointed a bony finger at an old oak tree in the yard. "The key," he whispered. "It's in the robin's nest." Liam felt a chill. The robin. Clara's felt bird. It wasn't just her symbol, it had been their father's too. He had always loved watching the robins build their nests each spring. With Clara's help, Liam found a small, rusted metal box tucked into the crook of the old oak, hidden in the remnants of a long-abandoned nest. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a key and a deed. It was not for the house, but for a parcel of land Liam had forgotten, a 10-acre wood on the edge of town that had belonged to his mother. There was a note in his father's shaky script, "For Liam, so he can always have a piece of her peace to come home to." Tears, hot and unfamiliar, welled in Liam's eyes. His father, in his fading mind, had been holding on to this, waiting for him. The felt bird hadn't just been Clara's call. It had been an echo of his father's silent, enduring message. Maeve was right. The heart kept a different ledger. In that moment, the algorithm for his life shattered. He saw the foreclosure not as a financial problem, but as a failure of love. He saw the land not as an asset, but as a legacy. He called Anya. Cancel all my meetings for the next month, and I need you to find me the best architects and horticulturalists specializing in therapeutic landscapes and memory care." "What's the project, sir?" Anya asked, confused. "I'm building a new kind of castle," Liam said, looking out at his mother's land. "One on the ground." Chapter 6. The Garden of Second Chances. Liam Thorne didn't leave Willow Creek. He poured his formidable intellect and vast resources into a new venture, but one utterly unlike Ether. He called it the Sarah Thorne Sanctuary, a state-of-the-art, non-profit memory care and community center built on his mother's land. The center was designed not as a hospital, but as a living, breathing garden. There were winding paths through sensory gardens, greenhouses where residents could potter among plants, and quiet nooks overlooking the creek. The architect was the community itself. He hired local carpenters, landscapers, and craftspeople, infusing the town with a vitality it hadn't known in years. And at the heart of it all, as his chief consultant and the head of the restoration workshop, was Maeve. Her cottage, with its philosophy of mending broken things, became the model for the workshop. Residents with memory loss, alongside local volunteers, would work together to repair furniture, mend china, and restore old toys. The act of fixing something tangible, of making something whole again, proved to be a powerful therapy. It gave purpose, sparked memories, and forged connections. Liam learned to talk to his father, not as a son seeking recognition, but as a companion sharing a moment. He would wheel him through the gardens, and though Robert rarely knew his name, he would sometimes smile at the sight of a particular flower or hum a tune he'd sung to Liam as a child. It was enough. Clara, seeing her brother not as a corporate titan, but as a man rediscovering his heart, found her own anger melting away. They began to rebuild their relationship, brick by fragile brick. One afternoon, Liam found Maeve in the workshop, teaching his father how to glue the handle back onto a tiny ceramic cup. Robert's hands were steady for the first time in weeks, his concentration absolute. Maeve looked up and caught Liam's eye. She smiled, a silent message passing between them. "You see, nothing is beyond repair." Chapter 7. A Different Kind of Wealth. The official opening of the Sarah Thorne Sanctuary was a town-wide celebration. There was no global press, no market analysis, just the people of Willow Creek sharing food, music, and a renewed sense of hope. Liam stood to the side, watching the scene. He saw residents holding up their repaired treasures with pride. He saw his sister laughing, her face finally free of its weary lines. He saw his father, seated in a place of honor, watching the robins flit through the trees, a faint, peaceful smile on his face. Maeve came to stand beside him. "You've done a good thing, Liam. Your mother would be so proud." Liam looked around at the garden, at the people, at the tangible, breathing good he had built. It was messy, unpredictable, and utterly illogical. It was the most meaningful thing he had ever done. "I didn't do it, Maeve," he said softly. "You did. You found what I'd lost, and you showed me how to find it again." He had come to Willow Creek to fix a problem with money, to tie up a loose end from his past, but the town and a woman who mended broken things had fixed him instead. They had shown him that the most valuable code wasn't written in binary, but in compassion, that the most complex systems were human hearts, and that the greatest success was not in building an empire, but in planting a garden. The man who had once commanded the attention of millions now found his greatest wealth in the quiet gratitude of a small town, and in the peace he had finally, after 20 years, brought home.